Joining me is Lynn Parramore, contributing editor at AlterNet. Lynn, we've been talking now for a week about these insider trades, as they're kind of being colloquially and maybe legally called, that Paul Ryan may have participated in. This all started related to a meeting in September of 2008 where he met with then Treasury Secretary Hank Paulson. Ben Bernanke was there, and there's some question as to the timing of certain sell-off of bank stocks that he did relative to this meeting where he was warned about, for lack of a better term, the impending doom of some of the big banks. Now, we've seen conservatives quickly come back with kind of two arguments. Number one, that this was legal at the time because the Stock Act had not been passed if it was so-called insider trading. And number two, that because of the time that the meeting took place and the time that the markets are open, that it's not even really possible for him to have executed the trades he's accused of having done. Let's start at the beginning. Give us the facts as we know them.
Well, the facts as we know them are that Paul Ryan was required as a member of Congress to issue a disclosure form in 2009 stating, giving information on stock trades that he'd made during the previous year. And it turns out that on September 18th, 2008, the day you mentioned, he made certain trades that looked suspicious. He made trades of big bank stocks. He sold Citigroup, Wachovia, JP Morgan Chase, and he purchased Goldman Sachs. Now, Paul Ryan had done trades in other months during that year, but the September 18th trades are actually different from his usual pattern. And so that raises suspicion of a blogger over at the Richmonder blog who looked through those disclosure documents and raised some questions. So in terms of the timing of the meeting, on September 18th, a meeting took place after the close of market at 4 p.m. That is true. However, the call for the meeting came in earlier in the afternoon. Nancy Pelosi, by 3 p.m., had spoken to Ben Bernanke on the phone. She had been apprised of what the subject of the meeting was going to be about, and they discussed it, and she sent out a call to congressional leadership telling them that the meeting would take place. So Paul Ryan had plenty of time to call his stockbroker or text his broker before the close of market at 4 p.m. And even if he didn't do that, there's also such a thing as after-hours trading. There are several systems that allow people to trade after hours. So the idea that he couldn't have used the information to make the trades that day strikes me as ludicrous.
And also the other thing would be, let's say we believe that. It's an incredible coincidence. It's the coincidence of coincidences that simply hours before hearing about this information, he did exactly what any logical person would do once given that information.
That's exactly right. And we also have to remember that Paul Ryan is a Republican, and the White House was under a Republican administration at the time. So he may well have found out about this information well before Nancy Pelosi. We can't prove that, but it's entirely possible that he did. So the timing claim really doesn't hold up. In terms of the legality, there's a lot of confusion on this issue, and it's not surprising because during the time that Paul Ryan made these trades on September 18th, the legality was contested. That is to say, it would really depend on the judge to determine whether such actions at that time would be considered insider trading or not. And it is true that members of Congress were typically not prosecuted for such actions. Now, that has come into question since the financial crisis. And as you pointed out, Obama signed legislation in the spring of this year stating that definitively that kind of action is absolutely illegal. So the legality at the time was a contested issue. Paul Ryan was not pursued or prosecuted for it, nor were other members of Congress. But we can certainly say that it is a troubling ethical violation for a member of a trusted public official to be considering his stock portfolio on a day when his country was in peril. It does not speak well to the character of the man. And, we're finding out as the days go on, Paul Ryan is, the ticket of Ryan and Romney is really kind of a private equity ticket. We've just found out that Ryan's brother worked for Bain Capital at one time. You know, these are guys who really do think about the bottom line for themselves at the expense, at least in this case, as we can see, of their fellow Americans. So as a vice presidential candidate, this is a serious issue.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me, Lynn, that so many of these discussions get into, well, it wasn't illegal at the time, it just may have been unethical. And then it's like so many people on the right say, well, it wasn't illegal, it was only unethical. I'm okay with that. There's almost like when you create that discussion, there's almost like an implicit acceptance of something that, hey, it may be unethical, but by the letter of the law, it was legal, and therefore it should not be held against him. When this is a guy who potentially is a heartbeat away from being the president of the United States. Are you happy with just following the letter of the law, or do you want someone ethical? That conversation's out the window.
That's exactly right. Hopefully, we would want someone who is a heartbeat away from the presidency to be above ethical, you know, breaches of this kind. But I think many people are seeing that the Ryan Romney ticket is a ticket of, by, and for the 1%. Ryan is not as wealthy as Romney, of course, but he is a man of considerable means. His wife inherited enough money to make her a millionaire several years ago from family members. The Ryan family values are very clear what they value. His brother, again, is a private equity guy. So there's a real question about whether these are the kinds of people that are going to serve the needs of ordinary Americans. The Romney campaign is trying to paint Paul Ryan as a man of the people, but I'm not sure that that's going to stick in the face of the facts that are coming to light as this insider trading case makes clear. And I also want to point out that while the legality of insider trading was, again, contested for members of Congress, it's not really fair to say that it was completely legal, because, again, it would have depended on the judge. But it was definitely illegal for members of the executive branch. There has been this strange miscarriage of justice whereby one branch of government has been traditionally held to a stricter rules than another, and that Obama signing that law in the spring was meant to address that discrepancy. Members of Congress have for a long time considered it, sort of their inherent right to be able to do this kind of thing. In fact, there was a study that came out in 2004. Several researchers, prominent researchers, looked at how members of the Senate did in their stock portfolios from 1993 to 1998, and they found that senators beat the market by 12% on average per year. And just to put that in perspective, even a corporate insider like Warren Buffett doesn't beat the market by more than 5 percentage points a year. So that is a really, really troubling number. And by the way, the general public during that time period underperformed on their stock portfolios by 1.4%. So something has been going on for a long time. It's outrageous. The fact that Obama even had to put this into a law in the spring to make it definitively illegal is troubling in and of itself. It ought to be obvious that this was not something members of Congress should be engaged in. It's
incredible. Well, keep up the great work. We've been speaking with Lynn Parramore, contributing editor over at AlterNet. We love AlterNet. We use AlterNet for prep material just about every day. So thanks so much, Lynn.
So good to be here, and thank you for covering the story.
Okay, we'll take a break. We'll be back with more after this.